dreamers. You are listening to The Girls Next Door, where real estate gets real and life gets even realer. We're Christy and Kate, and we're bringing you the inside scoop on homes, hustle, and everything happening next door. Let's go.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
So we've got a lot to talk about this week, I feel. First of all, thanks for tuning in to us last time. We're going to try to have more episodes a little faster than we did before, but we had a lot going on. Spring break, everybody was on vacation. You specifically.
Me specifically, yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Sadly, I'm back.
So sadly, she's back. I'm happy she's back. Sadly, she's sad. But so there's been a lot going on, but there's also been a lot going on in the market right now. And I think we're kind of going to just dive into some of that today to talk about what's happening, at least for me, in the last couple of weeks. But I think it's happening everywhere right now, for sure, in our area. There's a lot going on for buyers specifically. I think for the most part today, we're going to be talking to buyers. Sellers will come at you in the next week or two, but there's some stuff going on right now that I feel like buyers should definitely be aware of. I know for me in the last few weeks, it has been a little rough for my buyers, and the reason is that we spoke about last week is we're definitely in a major seller's market right now, and we have been for years.
Yeah.
That hasn't really changed, but I think right now, specifically being in the spring boom, it's gotten crazier than it's been in a while.
It has. It definitely has. I think, it's funny because it's in pockets. It depends what market within the Mohawk Valley you're looking, but it's definitely here. It's definitely happening, and it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah, it has picked up so much recently. And up until, let's say, up until about 5 weeks ago, I kind of prided myself a little bit, and I've been humbled on that. I have only ever, since I've been licensed in 2021, I've only ever lost one bidding war. And I was really proud of that. I think I write a really good offer, and I have a good rapport with my fellow agents. And I have lost 7 in the last couple of weeks. 7.
Yeah,
that has not happened to me. So that is, yes, humbling. I'm still writing offers that are strong. I am writing offers that are, all of them have been between $15,000 and $30,000 over asking price. So sometimes what we want to talk about today is it's not really, yes, price point is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if we're talking what's the most important, well, it's price, for sure.
Point.
And it's going a lot higher than 30,000 over, but there are other things that we and the listing side are looking for in offers too. And that's what's been kind of happening. So I think we want to go through some of this today for buyers to know what you're up against. And number one, don't get discouraged.
Yeah, that's key.
It's huge.
Keep trying.
But just to know what you're in for. I'm a very honest agent. I think, I don't want to say brutally honest, but I'm a very, this is what we're up for, this is what we're in for, and I want you to be as prepared as possible. I think we all do. It helps when you've lost 1 or 2 or 3 offers in a row to know up front, it's okay, this is normal, this is happening to more than just you, this is happening everywhere right now. So I think that's kind of where we're at today. I really wanted to address this specifically today because it's happening so much, specifically for me right now. But I think if it's happening for me, who's a very active full-time agent, it's happening to everybody.
I'm sure.
So
sure it is. I think, just talking to other agents, I'm hearing about it happening for sure. So.
Absolutely. So I guess I would like to go over a little bit about what exactly happens in a seller's market. We've touched on it before, but a little more in depth for buyers. But specifically, what is the seller's market and why are we in a seller's market? It's a high demand and a low supply
Exactly.
is what we have right now. I don't know if you want to kind of touch on that a little bit
High
more.
demand, low supply, and then everyone has been, I think, keeping their eye on interest rates. That's what you keep hearing over and over again. We're going to wait until they go back down. Listen, they're fluctuating. It's just what it is. It's the nature of the beast. But no matter what, everyone's like, wait, when's the right time to buy? When's the right time to buy? The right time to buy is now. You do it, and
especially if you're renting.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you're renting, you are paying 100% interest
Yep.
on a rental. So don't worry. I mean, and then you're worried about 6 or 7%. It's better than renting. That's for sure.
That's the thing. But then it comes back to just educating people, right? I'm a big fan of just making sure to manage expectations with my buyers, educate them, and just make sure they're prepared for what's going in. So if we're in what we're calling a seller's market, we're not looking at the top of their budget. That's not setting them up for a success of getting an accepted offer.
Such a good, solid point.
It doesn't set them up for success, and I always try to explain that on the front end. Listen, if you are qualified for XYZ dollars, we're not going to look at that top number because we want to give you wiggle room to be able to negotiate, to be able to put you in a stronger position against other offers, because a seller's market means you're not negotiating with a seller at this point. You're negotiating against other buyers that are competing against you.
Exactly. Such a strong point. I have a lot of buyers right now who also are not conventionally financed. And I don't ever want anyone to feel like just because you have an FHA or just because you have a VA that is a lesser loan, because it's not.
No.
It's not. It's just that there are some stricter requirements. And in a seller's market, conventional just has some easier requirements to get through.
Yeah.
So don't feel discouraged because you have an FHA or because you have a VA loan. These are strong loans. They just, in this market, if there's a stricter requirement behind that loan, a lot of the time sellers are choosing a conventional and also cash. We're seeing a lot of cash right now. Again, I feel where we were seeing it before a couple of years ago, but it's really back.
Yep.
Again, as far as cash goes.
It's funny, we're talking about buyers, but even though we do both work with sellers, when I am working with a seller and guiding them on offers and we have multiple offers on the table, just because one says one type of loan and one says cash doesn't mean, the cash beats out. It can still be a really strong offer,
Absolutely.
even if you're another type of financing, whether it be FHA, VA, conventional, whatever have you. If it's just, at the end of the day, a stronger, solid offer, I always guide them to try to put them in the right direction, but also they also understand, this may have 1, 2, 3 bumps in the road to get you to closing, where this may only have 1, 2 bumps in the road, or 0, to get you to the closing table.
Yeah. I think too, what has been important for my buyers who have been getting no's, and I really appreciate this from our fellow colleagues, is them giving me some information as to what the other offer that did get the home looks like. So that is really helpful. So thank you to those agents who are willing to give that information out, because it helps us educate our buyers as to, okay, here's why, X, Y, and Z. And this is also kind of reiterates sometimes the points that maybe we have made, but they need to hear it from someone else. And usually it's what we call, the lesson house, and, why we didn't get this particular home. So I guess that also brings us to, okay, what kind of offers are we competing with, and what do the offers look like that are winning? What do those look like versus the ones that are not winning? So I think a big thing that we talk about are contingencies.
Yep.
So
contingencies. Or when I'm explaining to people, how many obstacles are we going to have to get to a closing table. So those are what contingencies are. Those are steps in the process that get you your keys in your hand. And if you're putting a lot of steps into place, it's just going to put you more at a setback against other people that aren't putting all of those steps into place. I say a clean offer. A clean offer means really clean and clear. We're going to put this much down. It's going to be, XYZ is financed. We have proof of this. We're going to limit the number of steps in the process to get to the closing table. That means the seller is going to go, yes, we want to sell this house, and we want to sell it sooner than not, and not in 6 months. We want to sell it in a few months, from start to finish. And contingencies are the bumps in the road that get you in situations that can slow down the process or even put the brakes on in the process.
Do we want to talk about a couple of what those contingencies are?
Sure can.
Okay, good. I will talk about one. I will talk about a controversial contingency. I'm going to go for it. So a big and very popular contingency is a home inspection.
Yep.
So we will always recommend a home inspection. On the buyer's end, we will recommend one every single time. You should get a home inspection. It is going to teach you about your house. That is what a home inspection is for. I also have a lot of first-time buyers who think that a home inspection is not optional. They think that they have to get a home inspection.
Right.
It is optional. It's your choice if you want to get one or not. However, we always recommend one.
Can I dive a little deeper into that for a second? Because I don't want to lose my thought. Because I'm getting old and my brain dumps shit really quick and I forget what I'm going to say. So with that, some people think that a home inspection could be an out for them. And I don't think that that's the way that it should be viewed. It should be viewed as you're walking in and you're getting educated on your home. You're finding out what things you need to keep an eye on through the years, what things you need to maintain. It's actually a walkthrough of learning the ins and outs of the structure, the mechanics, the plumbing, the electrical, all of that. It's learning about your home. It's not I'm not really sure about this house. Let me put a home inspection contingency on there. That way I have an out if I don't want it. No thanks.
Right. No, absolutely not. Also, a big thing for me is if you are going to the home inspection, well, let's back it up. Yep. You've gone to a showing and you're seeing the house for the first time and you notice that there is a cracked window.
Yep.
That is a visual defect. You are seeing when you walk into that home, you are purchasing the home knowing there is a cracked window in the bedroom.
Yep.
So going in and then asking the seller to repair the cracked window, if you want to, you can, I guess. However, you are going in purchasing the home knowing there's a cracked window. You see it, it's visible, it's right there. That is what you are purchasing the home in that as-is condition that you are looking at it from the first time you walk in the door.
Right, and that offer should reflect all of that. All of the visible things that you've seen in the house when you saw it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So that is one that sometimes I think in the market that we're in is a little bit controversial as far as I have a lot of buyers say to me, what do I do? Should I get a home? Do we do it? Do we get a home inspection?
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a hard question to get asked being a buyer's agent because yes, you should.
Absolutely.
Yes, you should get a home inspection. I'm never going to tell you not to, but I am an honest agent. And I will tell you that in this market, sometimes an offer without a home inspection is stronger.
Yep.
It just is. But do I think you should get one? Yep.
Yeah.
Will the offer without the home inspection get chosen over yours? I don't know.
You know what's funny? I've been in competing offers and had a home inspection on it, full well knowing, the house, you could tell a I mean, obviously things come up that you can't see with your eye. That a home inspector who's trained at what to look for and what to check can see and find. But there's even ways to set things up on the home inspection clause or whatever. What is it called? The piece of it that spells out, I'm getting a home inspection.
Yep.
However, if something falls under, $100, we want to be able to negotiate that. Now that's really ridiculous because you could need a door handle and that's,
absolutely,
you know what I mean? So you can have a home inspection, but just set that threshold really high.
Yep.
So your buyers are still able to get their home inspection. They're still able to learn about their house, but the seller also knows they're not trying to nickel and dime every little piece of the home inspection.
Absolutely. So that's a big one. I think really that's one of the biggest ones for sure as far as contingencies go. Competing with cash offers, it's hard. But really, it's hard. It's hard to compete with the cash offer, and we're seeing a lot of that right now.
I guess the why of competing with cash offers, I guess it just is, again, it's more steps in the process because if you have a cash offer, there's no appraisal tied to that.
Yep. So what does that mean, Christy?
What does that mean?
What does that mean, though?
Well, the appraisal is what the bank, that is the bank's way of verifying what they're lending to their buyer is actually of value to what they're borrowing. So
and it's totally different than an inspection. I have a lot of people who think that, an appraisal and an inspection are the same thing, and it is not. Your appraisal is not optional. I think that's the one that they get confused with the home inspection. Your home inspection is optional, whether or not you want to do that. The appraisal is essentially your bank's inspection.
Yeah, as long as you have a mortgage, you need the appraisal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the bank will not lend you. Let's say you're purchasing a home for $200,000. They need to determine that the value of that house is there. And they're not going to give you $200,000 if they deem that the house is only worth $190,000.
Right.
So that is where an appraisal comes in, and then you have a gap, which thankfully I don't think we're dealing with too much in this market. I've only had it happen once in this market. So pretty much in an appraisal gap, someone's got to come up with the funds. Either the seller's got to drop the price to what the house appraised at, or your buyer's going to have to come up with the cash to meet that, or meet somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
So that's another one. But that's why a lot of people, when they ask, well, why? What does it matter? They're still getting the money anyway.
Right.
They are. You're right. They absolutely are. However, you don't have to deal with an appraisal. So that's big for sure.
What other big contingencies are there?
Well,
that you think kind of
financing or not financing your closing costs, seller's concessions is another one. That's actually in, as of late, that has been, I would say, half of the offers that I have lost in the last couple of weeks have been because of that. Mm-hmm. And that also ties in to the appraisal. Right. So that is when you get your pre-approval and your bank says, okay, you need 6% seller's concessions. Well, that means that you, thankfully, do not have to come out of your own pocket in cash for your closing costs, which is awesome. That's great. Yep. I tell people a lot of the time, in a less crazy market than this, if you don't have to come out of your pocket all of that cash for your closing costs and you can finance it into your mortgage, do it. Because who wouldn't want to keep an extra $12,000, $15,000, $20,000 in cash in your pocket? However, that amount goes on top of your loan, which means your house then has to appraise at that higher amount. Mm-hmm. And if they're worried about it appraising because, let's say, we got a bunch of offers that have gone over asking, we're in a bidding war, and then they are actually worried about it appraising at that amount. Right. Well, an extra $20,000 on top is a worry for a seller.
Yep.
So that has been a big one lately that I have a lot of mine are financing their closing costs. Some out of choice, some out of need, and it's hard to compete with that if someone is paying for them out of pocket.
Right. Exactly.
It's a big one. Any other contingencies you would like to touch on?
Oh,
Or
I
not.
mean, I don't know. I think of, the inspections. There's a home inspection. There's lots of different other additional inspections that can fall into place under that, but I think they're all kind of encompassing of another. A home to sell. Having a home to sell
That's a big one.
is a big obstacle. If you have to buy a house and you don't even have your house ready to sell and you're competing with other people that have a much cleaner offer, I think that just puts you at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. At least get your house listed.
Yeah.
Which I know sounds scary. It's scary.
It is scary.
People
It's
think,
terrifying.
I'm going to be homeless. You're not. You're not going to be homeless. We have clauses in there that protect you from that. We're not going to let you be homeless. You will have to find a house to live in before your buyers move into yours.
Yeah. And
So
you could put that in there. That's the thing, is that's what I try to explain to people, is that you can have the sale of your home contingent on finding suitable housing. So, and if you don't, then your home isn't being sold to those people.
that's it.
The end.
It's as easy as that. Absolutely. But that's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. If you have a house to sell and you need to sell that house in order to purchase a new one, we have to at least get it listed. Or truthfully, you have no shot in this market.
If you're competing with many offers. If you're the only offer on the table, it's a little different situation.
Absolutely. So I guess that, kind of brings us to as far as negotiations go, which you kind of already touched on in the beginning, is that negotiations in a seller's market are limited. I have a lot of buyers who will say, well, especially if it's only been on the market a few days, well, I want to come in a little under. Well, I'm going to do whatever you want.
Yep.
You are the boss. I'm going to do whatever you want. But in a seller's market, more than likely, it's going to go for asking or over. If it's a good house, if it's a decent home, that's what we're looking at. So you have to go in knowing these things and essentially get serious about it. How serious are you about this home?
Right.
And I never want my buyers to go in and put an offer in on something that they can't afford.
Yep.
Or that whatever the situation is, I don't want them to ever be uncomfortable in what we're doing. But at the same time, purchasing in this market, you have to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive.
You do, in an educated way, I think,
Absolutely.
because you can't just go in shooting from the hip going, oh, shit, everyone's going to be over asking. Let's just shoot a random number out there that feels right. I actually have at times gotten really scientific in my research. I dive in and do comps. I look at other houses that have statistically sold within months, years. Obviously, New York, things take a little longer to close, so there's a little skew in the data. But researching, if say you're in a certain neighborhood, okay, this home sold, it was listed for say 200,000, but it went for 240. This home sold, it was listed for 198, but it went for like 242. Oh, I'm seeing a trend. Most of the houses listed in this particular neighborhood have gone for a specific amount over asking. So then taking that and diving in a little deeper, looking at the average sales price of those homes and making sure you're not putting your buyers in a position that they're going to be in a hole and they're not going to be able to recover that.
Absolutely.
If they go too much over, right? So diving in a little deeper into that situation of, what would be too much. You don't want to put them there. So really diving in and saying, okay, so I've seen, the number of houses in this area have gone for, maybe 20,000 over statistically in the past year or so. So most of them have. So why don't we tweak it a little bit and go to here? And that's kind of what I have done with some of my buyers recently to just kind of help dive in, not shooting from the hip.
And it's just giving them more information. Just how much more can we prepare you for?
Right.
Really is the biggest thing. Preparation for us is key for you. So I think that's a really good point as to, where are we getting this and kind of we're not just willy-nilly saying this is what we think and we're just guessing. There are ways that you just mentioned is that we know these things. So really trust and listen to your agent. Most of us who are educated and doing this full time are doing these things behind the scenes for you and making sure that we are educating ourselves and that we are giving you all of the information that you need to go
and putting you in the best position as possible to get the home that you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think a big takeaway too is just, like I said before, not to get discouraged. And I think sometimes we have to tell ourselves that too, because this has been a rough. I get so freaking invested in every one of my clients' lives. Every last one of you, whether it be a buyer or a seller, I am invested. I want all of the same wonderful things for you. I walk into the same house that you're seeing yourself at. You're seeing your kid's first birthday party there, and then you're seeing their graduation party in the backyard, and I'm seeing all that too when I go. So it is so hard when, not just on you, but on us too. So we do take it, I don't know, I should speak for myself, but I'm speaking for you too, because we get so invested. I've lost sleep over it the last couple of weeks. I've woken up in panics in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. Holy shit. I wrote an offer to a fellow agent. I messaged him in the morning. I almost messaged him at 3 in the morning, but I didn't do it. I feel like he would have understood though, but I didn't. I waited till 7:45 in the morning. I didn't sleep for those few hours, just like staring at the ceiling, because I forgot to include something in the offer that I had sent. And it was something really small, and it's something that actually the seller was offering already, but I wanted to make sure it was in there for them. 3 hours. 3 hours I was just up thinking about it. And then finally I, shot it over to him, and he was like, it's absolutely not a big deal. Yeah. But the point is, I am invested in it too. Yep. So getting discouraged, even for us, it happens. We feel it too. So I have to kind of then pick myself back up and say, we're going to get the next one. Yep. And that's it. We're going to get the next one. And if we don't, we're going to get the one after that. Yeah. And generally speaking, it always makes sense at the end as to why somehow the house that you end up getting is the one.
It is the one.
It ends up, and then we go, it all made sense in the end. This is so totally the one. And so don't get discouraged. We're gonna do it. But just, you got to know what we're in for a little bit in this time. And it gets better. It's gonna get better. It absolutely. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna get through it.
Always do.
Yep. So I think that's kind of the big spiel on our buyers today. So now we're just going to bullshit about what's been going on with us in the last few weeks since you've seen us last. Christy went on vacation. She can tell you all about that. She's sad. She usually cries for a couple days when she comes back, so she's not crying today. It's a treat for us, for sure. Where'd you go, bud?
One of my favorite places. I was down in the Virgin Islands. So we stayed down in St. John, which is just a little ferry ride over from St. Thomas. And we were on a catamaran for 2 nights, which was really cool. And
so
actually, awesome. I got to experience that once before, so I really wanted to do it again and share that with Mark, my husband, and it was incredible, and he definitely caught the bug So much so that when we got on land after a few days and back to civilization and having people at restaurants and noise and chaos, that it was like, oh shit, we kind of like not being around people a little bit. It's kind of a nice thing. So yeah, and then we spent the rest of our time on the island of St. John. We rented a Jeep. We bebopped around the island, driving on the left side of the road. I did not do that, but
No,
I made
thanks.
sure to remind Mark to stay on the left side.
I don't even want to drive on the right side
Oh
of the road.
yeah, I don't like it, but it was fine. It was beautiful, and then I would see things. I'm like, oh my god, look at that! No, don't look at that. Don't look at that. You need to keep your eyes on the road. But my God, saw so many beautiful beaches, met so many amazing people. That is like one of my favorite things about traveling is the people that I meet.
That's the best. Absolutely.
Meeting locals, meeting other travelers, connecting and finding like your reason why you connect. You know what I mean? I met so many really cool people this week. One of them being the captain of the boat that we were on, and he gave me a lot of little nuggets of wisdom as to how I can get to my goals someday of
That's great, having that connection.
part-time.
Did you get his information?
I sure did.
Hell
Of
yeah.
course I did.
Absolutely.
Great guy. His name is Phil, and his partner's name is Amanda. They're with Reef Chaser Charters out of Coral Bay, St. John. Really super cool people. We're going to see them again for
That's
sure
great.
in our lifetime,
Yeah.
probably many more times. We hope to be neighbors eventually.
I love that. I love that plan.
Even just like, it was funny. We went to a coffee shop, of course. I had to find the local coffee shop, and I found it, and we went every day, and it was amazing. But, there's all different walks of life living on an island. There's the visitors that obviously it takes some money to get there and to stay there and to enjoy it. And then there's the locals. And, there was this guy, his name was Gary, and he was standing in front of us at the coffee shop barefoot, super, super sun-kissed. You could tell he doesn't live a luxurious life, but he was happy as shit. And some woman came over to him with a bag of bananas. She's like, Gary, you want some bananas? And he's like, yeah, can I take 2 today? And, and he got his little free bananas and stood in line. He's got enough money to grab his coffee for the day, but man, he's happy. What's
I love
the
that.
secret? Simplicity.
That's it.
Simplicity. So
Yeah.
I came home and I wanted to clean out my basement. I just want to eliminate a lot of shit in my life, and I just want to live a more simple life. That was my key takeaway of my trip this time.
That's a great takeaway. A little bit more minimalistic living. Yeah, that's huge. I started working out.
Yes.
I know.
God, I love this.
I can't believe it. I used to work. I'm in good shape. I'm not saying I'm not in good shape, but I used to work out a lot more, and then life happened for me, and it's one of those things where life happens to all of us, and you just have to find and make the time. When I say it's really hard for me to find and make time, I'm not exaggerating. I go 24/7. I am a workaholic. My day is booked dusk till dawn. Every single minute is planned accordingly and scheduled on my day. If you looked at my week and what the schedule looks like, it's stupid. It's stupid.
It's bananas.
It's absolutely stupid. However, I have started to make that a priority for myself. Like, what can I do for myself? And I want to be healthier and stronger. It's not about even the look of it. I want to just feel good and be healthier. And so I've been working out regularly again. I'm feeling great. And that's my kind of like me update. Like, what are you doing for you? I think we got to check in on each other in life too, and making sure, like, what are we doing to reset ourselves every day?
Yep.
And I'm so tired in a way of not doing that. Like, I need to be able to do it. Who cares? Okay, so you can't go show a house for an hour and a half because you're going to work out instead. Who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
Do it another time.
Yeah.
Like, my life matters too, and I think that's a big thing for sure. To try to, I don't know. For me, it is at least. So I'm trying to
Makes me smile.
Oh, Mom, so happy that you're happy about it.
It's because it's a thing that I think is important for you, and I care about you as a person, and I think that, you're constantly helping and filling other people's buckets, but you got to fill your own.
So true. Thank you.
You're
I know.
welcome.
We need that reminder too, to make sure that we're filling our own buckets at the end of the day. And my bucket is like dry as a fucking bone.
It's filling.
It's filling. It's starting to fill, but it was dry. Anyway, it's a different podcast. But so I guess the next thing is I want to start maybe touching base on what's going on in our community too.
Yeah.
Regularly. So, and we also are going to start having guests on soon. We're going to have one today, and I'm going to throw it out there because he's in the building. However, he ain't prepared, he says. So,
but he's special. He's a good guy.
He is so special, and he is here with us every time that we are here because we cannot do this without him. So he's pretty much our producer, and hopefully he will be here the next time. You'll be ready next time. He's going to be ready next time. But he wears a ton of hats in this community, and he's such a great guy. So we're going to kind of have him. He can really actually pull in real estate. And he can also pull in some other things. I'm going to let him talk about the next time he's here. We're going to let him get his shit together. But he for sure will be our first guest because he's so important in what we're doing here. And there's really nobody else that we can have on first besides him. For sure. I don't know if there's anything.
I brought the sunshine.
You sure did. You are also sun-kissed, as lovely as ever. Yeah, I'm missing that. My husband, however, did bring our boat home yesterday from storage. Oh, Harper and I just squealed at the top of our lungs when it pulled into the driveway. So boat season is coming soon, and I'm pumped about that. Yeah. It's not happening in the community, but it's happening in my little community.
In mine, too.
Heck yeah, it is. Absolutely. You are my community.
It's funny. Absolutely. Mark shared this one little flaw of many of my flaws, but so you're going to laugh. This is kind of funny. So I used to be one of those people that would, and it's shitty. It's super shitty, and I do not do this anymore, but I would make plans with like a handful of people, right? And I would make plans for the same day and then pick the best plan and go, okay, sorry, I can't make it. Isn't that shitty? It was my younger days. I was in my 20s. That is shitty. Right? It's asshole behavior. But here I am. Like, I'm grown. I've matured. I know better. I don't do shitty things. So
you would just essentially say yes to everything that was offered to you on one day, and then you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to wait for the best offer and then ditch all the other ones.
Correct. So, used to. 20s. Really
I'm going to keep this in my brain.
However, so nowadays I am solid with my plans, and I'm also non-committal. So if I have a inkling that I don't want to commit to something, like there's a chance I'm not even going to say yes to it. But Mark laughs because he's like, Christy, even if you make plans for something and someone's like, hey, you want to go on my boat for the day? You're going to cancel with the other people.
Yeah. That's like a written rule somewhere, though. If you're offered to go on the boat for the day, everything is canceled for that day then. Work canceled. Yep. Everything canceled.
Yeah.
That's it.
Gonna be on a boat.
Yeah, that's it, for sure. I love that.
Yeah, it's great.
I have somewhat adopted that policy over the last couple of years that we've had a boat, for sure. And now I'm the captain of the boat.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah, I love that. Awesome.
Yep. Super. Something coming up also, I'm part of Utica Rotary, and we have the Service Above Self Gala that's coming on June 6th. There are still tickets available. There's still sponsorship opportunities available for it. And what that benefits this year, it's being held at the Stanley on June 6th, but this year our beneficiary is the Utica Stanley. So It's kind of fantastic that our money, where we've been hosting this for a number of years now, is going back into the Stanley Theater, which is an iconic, spot right in downtown Utica. So, if anyone's interested in attending, there's tickets available. If you need a way to get to those tickets, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to guide you in the right direction. But it's a really fun event, great way to get dressed up, and you have dinner and dance on the stage of the Stanley Theater.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a blast for sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of what we've got coming up. And like I said, we'll kind of keep throwing these little tidbits out of what's coming up in the community. And like I said, having guests on. We also got new equipment, which is so exciting. We took 2 hours setting it up today, and we think we nailed it.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Check 1, 2.
Check 1, 2. Hey, James. That's our test. So hopefully, our last one, we're just figuring this whole thing out as we go along. That's kind of how we do life anyway. But hopefully getting new equipment, we upgraded, we got some new things going on that we're kind of taking care of some of the noise echo issues we had. But
Yeah.
we're just a couple girls doing what we do. And thankfully we have James, because what would we be? Yeah, he deserves a lot of credit for it, for sure. Yep.
Thank you, James.
Huge round of applause. But he'll be here next week. I've said his name now, so now you've got the spoiler alert.
Yep.
So yeah. Okay.
Right.
I mean,
Should we wrap it up?
I think we should wrap it up, baby.
All right.
Wrap it.
So, Girls Next Door signing off. Where real life and real estate meet. Another episode is wrapped. Until then, let's keep it real.
Yeah.